I spent over $1,000 on a guitar to make my husband's Christmas special, but his rich family sees it as a cheap gift. Now, he says he loves it, but he's barely touched it, and he's making me want to leave this marriage. Posted by u/Complex Club 6111. I come from poverty. It is what it is. I had a very rich childhood in all ways except financially. Christmas was something we saved for all year, and we would get one thing to wear, one book, and one fun item. My husband, on the other hand, comes from a family that grossed $300,000 a year. For them, Christmas was always a massive display. Each kid easily had $2,000 or more in gifts under the tree. My husband and I started dating 5 years ago and have been married for 2.5 years. We've clawed our way up in life. He was not given any financial help as an adult, and this year is the first time we can afford to spend a decent amount of money on Christmas. He has been wanting a guitar for some time. He has never played, but he's expressed interest so many times. Financially, we just couldn't swing it until now. I did a lot of research, and from what I found, beginner guitars start around $150 and go all the way up to $5,000 or more for high-end models. I agonized over what to choose. I even told him to cut the budget for my gift so I could surprise him with something really special, or so I thought. My original budget was $500, but I really wanted to go big. In the end, I spent around $900 on the guitar, plus about $200 on accessories. Being able to spend that much is just unfathomable for someone who grew up poor. But I did it because he deserves it. We finally have the means, and I was beyond excited to see his face light up. Christmas morning comes, and we wait to open the gifts under the tree until his family arrives. By this point, I'm practically giddy with excitement. When it's time for couple gifts, I bring out the guitar case from its hiding spot. He's so excited as he opens it, revealing the guitar. And then, "Oh, thanks, babe. Never heard of this brand." Not the overwhelming joy I was hoping for, but it's not about me, right? His brother chimes in, "Ah, it's nice. A decent cheapy one to start with." Then his dad, who used to play in his 20s, says the brand is known for its lower-end models. He adds that they'd be happy to chip in for a nice one next year if my husband sticks with it. I have never felt such a punch to the gut. I assume I'm overthinking, as I often do, but I'm still so devastated by those 10 seconds. I can't even fully put into words why it hurts so much. It felt like I was 9 years old again, trying to be excited about my new Aeropostale hoodie while my friend got a MacBook and a Disney trip for Christmas. I think those comments affected how my husband sees the guitar too because he hasn't touched it since, despite wanting one for years. I guess I just needed to vent. I feel so small, and I had to get it out. Relevant comments. Commenter, I'm wondering if maybe your husband had a specific brand of guitar in mind that he wanted, and that's why he reacted that way? Not sure if that'll help you feel better, but that was my first thought. OP, I don't think he did. He's usually pretty forward with things and has never mentioned a specific brand. He's not super knowledgeable about any of it. My dad said the brand is a common enough brand. I know his brother has a Les Paul though, so by comparison, it definitely pales if he is only familiar with the very high-end names. What brand did you get? OP, it's a Guild 250E. The person I spoke to at the music shop, Canada, said it was a very good choice. He talked me out of the 2 other options and reassured me of the quality and longevity. I was actually quite shocked my husband didn't know the brand, even as a non-musician. Commenter, do you know the preceding letter for the 250E model? Guild has an interesting history of ownership, having once been owned by Fender and now owned by Yamaha. They make some very good guitars across a wide price range. You got him a nice guitar, up. OP, sorry, yes, F250E. Blonde Jumbo. Not sure if that makes a difference. Commenter, considering Guild has the F55E that retails at $4,600, their family saying it's a cheaper guitar brand is extra rich. You got the right guitar. It's a nice price range from a trusted brand. The family is trash. Your husband probably isn't sure what guitar he wants. I'd take him to the music store and have him try out some models. Worst comes to worst, you keep the Guild. Commenter, how does he normally handle the class difference in your relationship? OP, he honestly never mentions it. It hasn't been a huge hurdle. We did struggle to meet in the middle when it came to what is essential versus what are just wants. Both of us had skewed ideas of that. But I think he had to rough it enough at 21 to 26 to be based in reality 90% of the time. Christmas just seems to be the exception. Commenter, sounds like you're actually devastated about your husband's reaction to the gift, not his family's reaction. OP, I think you're right. I was expecting him to be so excited, and then it just didn't really happen like that in the end. This guitar had been a passing conversation for years. My little sister was also very excited and helped me pick it out, so I think I also felt crushed for her too. Commenter, You cut the budget from your own present, and he agreed? That's brutal. You need to think long and hard about potential children being exposed to this toxic materialistic mentality. Regardless of income, those comments were disgusting, but they seemed set in their ways. I still think he spent way over budget on me, so I don't know if he actually agreed. I'll give him that. He knows I stress about money endlessly, so I'm assuming he just agreed to make me feel better about wanting to spend more. What did he get for your presents? He honestly did. He was very thoughtful. He got me a purse I've been wanting for a hot minute, and quite a few other things he took note of over the past few months. He definitely went over the new budget. Not the same price, but I really and truly am not a gift person, so the thought is 100 times more important to me. Commenter, just an assumption, but even when he had to rough it, he always had his family to fall back on? As in, he wouldn't be homeless or anything? That gives a very different mentality to someone who does have to genuinely fear homelessness. Honestly, I think spending your childhood and many teen years in financial comfort is going to have a much larger effect on someone's values than a few years of scrimping and saving as a young adult. Yeah, I suppose our idea of roughing it definitely differed. There has always been the safety net. He was pretty good about not using it and holding his own, but it was definitely still there. Expands. He got a taste of normal life because they didn't give him money to start out. He had to get his crappy minimum wage job like the rest of us, save, and work up from there. Our collision of worlds has actually been good because he reminds me I deserve new jeans when mine have holes, and I remind him he doesn't need a new pair of jeans every week. It's only really when we're with them that he reverts back to this. Commenter, I can't help but mention I came from a household where my parents grossed a bit more than you mentioned, and Christmas was never $2,000 plus per child. That level of gift giving sounds excessive for reasons beyond income. What you got would have been a special gift by my or my family's understanding. It's completely infuriating to watch. The first year actually made me so mad. To remember my parents scraping dimes together just to get me a book, and then to watch two grown men completely surrounded by their new consoles, an entire new wardrobe, and so many things. I cried wondering what I'd gotten myself into. His mom went so overboard on me as well, and I can't even explain the guilt I felt. Commenter, will he stand up for you in disagreements with his family about where to live, how to raise your children, or snide remarks from family members? If he doesn't have your back now, he never will. Yes, in other ways, he definitely does. His parents disagree with many things we're doing with our daughter, namely, getting 99% of things secondhand, aside from the car seat and mattress, and letting her get dirty, the horror. He is usually quick to tell them, my kid, my rules. This was not typical behavior, which made it sting a little bit more, I think. Update, 1 day later. I spoke with him this morning, trying to be very calm. I'm not confrontational by nature, so I put my anger aside and went into it with patience and grace. I asked if he was upset about the guitar, either the brand choice, the appearance, or something else. I told him my feelings were hurt when his family made comments, even if unintentionally, that made it seem like I chose a child starter instrument or something. I explained that I'd put a lot of thought and research into the build, the color, everything, to make sure his first experience with a guitar was very positive. He was shocked to hear that I'd been thinking about it that way. He didn't think twice about what his family said. He apologized for their reaction and explained that his comment about the brand was nothing more than what it seemed. He'd never heard of the brand, that's all. He said he loved it and was just caught up in the craziness of Christmas, which is why he hadn't played it yet. It eased my mind a lot. I guess I'm just used to over-the-top reactions in my family. I think I'm still disappointed after a month's worth of excitement building was slashed pretty quickly, but at the end of the day, knowing he likes it makes their opinion mean a lot less. I found out my husband left me in the hospital to sleep with my best friend. Now, he's angry I won't let him near me during our baby's birth. Too bad, posted by you/illustrious book 613. This is a throwaway account because I am so annoyed and need to vent. This will be a lot, so I am sorry in advance. I, 28F, had been together with my husband, 27M, for nearly 10 years. We got married at 21, had our first son a year later, followed by our daughter 3 years after. I built my whole life around my family. We got good jobs. He worked full-time, I worked from home, we had a nice home in a great neighborhood and we put our children in good schools. We also had a successful business on the side. I thought we did everything right. My best friend, since we were in middle school, lived close by. We had our daughters around the same time, and we would have playdates frequently. We leaned on each other a lot. I gave her all the support I could when she was dealing with issues with her daughter's deadbeat father and got her in contact with a good lawyer. I leaned on her when I was recovering from my traumatic second birth and the depression that followed. We leaned on each other for everything. 10 months ago, I found out I was pregnant for the 3rd time. I was really uneasy about it because of my traumatic experience the second time. Also, my husband and I had both agreed we were done after our 2 children. I considered abortion, but my husband insisted we keep the baby. I was still uneasy about the pregnancy and borderline miserable for the next 6 months. I was diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum and was throwing up 20 times a day for 6 months straight. I lost a lot of weight, had to stop working, and was sent to the hospital frequently due to severe dehydration. My husband stood by me and showered me with attention, for which I was so grateful. He cut down his hours at work to look after me, the house, and the kids. My best friend would come to our home frequently to check on me and also help with the house. When I hit 6 months, the hyperemesis gravidarum decreased significantly, and I was almost back to myself. One night, after having a movie night with my family, my husband and I were getting ready to sleep. He fell asleep right away while I quickly checked on the kids before getting into bed. His phone was vibrating like crazy, so out of genuine curiosity, I unlocked it. We used to do this a lot when we were younger, so I didn't think too much of it. I was already sitting in bed. I saw messages from my friend. They were frantic, spam-like messages. One of them said, "Please come over, I need you." Another said, "I know I shouldn't be messaging here, but I miss you," and "Come over when she's asleep." I think I sat there in a daze for nearly 5 minutes. I cried quietly, and the fatigue just left me. I scoured his phone, looking for more. I saw emails and direct messages from them both, even using apps like Kik to communicate, along with pictures. But the worst part was finding out my husband left me one time in the hospital with my mother while he went back home, where my kids were being babysat by my friend, and got intimate in our bedroom, with our kids in the house. I kicked him out the following morning after confronting him and filed for separation shortly after. For the next 2 months, he begged for forgiveness, then complained and insulted me, saying I wasn't letting him see his kids or that I was stopping him from going with me to doctor appointments, which I had been. We had planned months earlier who would be in the labor room. It was going to be my mother and my husband. He called me when I was 35 weeks, questioning the labor situation. By this point, he had moved into my ex-friend's house. I said no, and he became very angry. Many of my in-laws and family members told me to put our differences aside for the baby. I still said no. I gave birth to my son with my mother and sister present, and did not feel any regret about my choice. After my second traumatic birth, I just wanted to ensure this one was as stable as possible, which it was. We were going to name our child after his father, who passed away. I went along with it to make him happy but changed my mind and picked a name I had loved since childhood. This aggravated him even more. Am I the jerk? Because I am being guilt-tripped by many people right now. All I want is for everyone to leave me alone so I can be with my kids. Edit, just wanted to add that I do let him see the kids. That would be crazy if I didn't. My children love their dad. I just have certain boundaries now that we aren't together, and he doesn't respect them. He gets angry and says things that are categorically untrue. He got to meet our newborn son hours after I gave birth. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. This is a scenario where you should feel safe and comfortable. He was cheating and left you in the hospital, so you shouldn't listen to him. Commenter 2. Lots of my in-laws and family members told me to put our differences aside for our baby. You can tell every one of them that you put the safety of your baby and yourself ahead of someone else's wants. You made the right decision. They should be grateful you had enough strength to put your lives and safety first. NTA. Commenter 3, NTA. How could you have a stress-free birth with him in the room? Why did he even feel entitled to ask? Commenter 4, absolutely NTA. Your soon-to-be ex-husband and your ex-friend are both monumentally huge pieces of garbage. Wow. I am so sorry. I hope you find someone else to love and love you after this is all settled. Update, 11 months later. So, I'm back after nearly a whole year. I completely forgot about this post because I've been so wrapped up in other things. For anyone who doesn't want to read the whole post, here's a summary. My husband had been cheating on me with my best friend while I was pregnant. I was close to giving birth and decided not to have my then husband in the labor room with me. I also chose a name for our baby that he didn't agree with. Like I said, it's basically been a whole year. My baby turned 1 today, and after celebrating his birthday and Christmas with my kids, it finally hit me this is my new reality. First of all, my ex-husband and I finally went through with the divorce proceedings. I had been holding it off during my pregnancy and early postpartum period to avoid added stress and to carefully plan for my children and myself. I was awarded primary physical custody of our children. Their dad visits once a week, and the 2 older kids, 7 and 4, spend every other weekend with him. My youngest will start doing the same in a couple of months, which makes me nervous. He's especially clingy with me. All my kids are, but my youngest has really only known me as the most present parent. One of the main stipulations in our custody agreement is that my ex's affair partner is prohibited from seeing the kids. My poor kids have been confused enough by their parents' sudden split, and I didn't want them even more confused by seeing their aunt, who was supposed to be mommy's best friend, with their dad. It was deemed emotionally detrimental in court. As for the baby name, he's still bitter about it. His side has been trying to convince me to change the name to something we'd both like, especially after the divorce was finalized. But it's been a year now, and the baby quite literally responds to the name I gave him, so I'm not going to change it. He was also unhappy with the child support payments and other payments, and he asked for some revisions. One main thing he wanted to change was the cost of our kids' school tuition. He pays for their tuition, which he felt was too much and too harsh. But the court stuck with the original payments. As for my ex-husband and ex-best friend, they continued dating. I found out they had started seeing each other a month into my third pregnancy. They had actually slept together during my second pregnancy but didn't pursue a relationship then because, as they put it, they weren't ready to ruin things and didn't want to hurt anybody. My ex's side has been very supportive of their relationship, even inviting her to holiday gatherings like Thanksgiving or family holidays. Because of this, my kids don't go to these events very often. After all of this, I've come to the realization that perhaps my ex's side never really liked me all that much. But that's okay. I eventually spoke with my ex-best friend to ask why they did it. She claimed they were just friends but grew close while she was dealing with issues involving her deadbeat ex-boyfriend. Both of them insisted that my ex-husband just wanted to protect her, which supposedly turned into love. Hearing this hurt me a lot, but at the same time, I felt relieved to know the truth. When I sat with this information for a while, it stopped hurting. It made me realize I didn't still love my ex-husband and could finally let go of him and their betrayal. They broke up a week ago. Apparently, it's just a break, though who knows. Although my kids go to their dad's house every other weekend, it has helped a lot with making time for myself. Obviously, I'm figuring out who I am without being a wife or mom all the time. In many ways, I find what happened to be a true blessing, which is why I'm no longer angry. As for me, I've been seeing someone. It hasn't been very long, nor is it very serious yet, but we get along great. Initially, my ex-husband made the whole situation difficult. He didn't want me to have any man, specifically, around the kids. Edit, I don't know how to do update posts, so my apologies if it's wrong. This is likely the last update. Just wanted to check in to let everyone know I'm okay. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, did he break up with the ex-best friend after he learned that you are seeing someone? OP, I started seeing this guy in October, he found out about it in late November. Commenter 2, good job. Never let that snake friend back into your life, even if she comes crawling back now. OP, she claimed I had not been the greatest friend to her at times during our very long friendship either. Commenter 3, none of us are perfect, and most of us can't be the greatest friend all the time, but that doesn't mean we sleep with our friends' husbands when they aren't the greatest. She's literally the worst. OP, I felt like strangling her in that moment. I couldn't think of a single thing I did wrong that could warrant her doing that to me. But it is what it is. 3 weeks ago, my mom confessed her year-long affair, and I thought nothing could hurt more, until my fiancé revealed he knew about it for months, and he kept his mouth shut because he was hiding his own affair the entire time. Posted by u/specific_issue. 3 weeks ago, I had to sit with my dad and listen to my mother tell us that she wanted a divorce because she had been having an affair with a man she met on the internet for a year. The first part, I understood. My dad had already talked to me about how their marriage wasn't the same as before, and although he was doing his best to change things, my mom didn't seem to care anymore. But the affair part made me really angry, and I felt heartbroken, especially because she kept repeating that she knew my dad didn't deserve it and how angry she was at herself. I called my fiancé because I was upset and needed someone to talk to. However, when I told him about it, he said, about that, and proceeded to tell me that he already knew for 5 months. He explained that he often saw my mother and the man at a restaurant near his workplace. When I asked why he hadn't told me, he said he didn't know how and felt there was never a right time. After that, he said he would give me some space, and we haven't talked much since. I invited him out for dinner to talk, but he just sat in silence and wouldn't even look me in the eye. I've been staying at my parents' house to help my dad, and my fiancé has yet to show up. We're supposed to get married next year. At first, I thought we should push the date back, but now I'm feeling so uncomfortable and doubtful that I'm wondering whether we should get married at all. I love him, but I can't shake this weird feeling, and his behavior during this whole situation isn't helping. Additional info from UP. A lot of people seem to think that I'm blaming my fiancé, but this is not the case. I'm not blaming him, and I'm well aware that my mother is the one at fault in this situation. My issue is that he's been avoiding me even though I really need his support right now. I'm not even trying to have a deep conversation about what happened because I know we can revisit it once things settle down. I just want someone to talk to about mundane things and help keep my mind off this mess. But it seems I'll have to keep trying until then. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's your mother who put everyone in this situation. She wasn't even being discreet. Odd that he saw her so many times, but she never saw him. Also, very poor timing for her to announce this right before your wedding. I'm sorry you're the one who got royally messed over. Up. From what he said, she saw him twice. Both times, she was just talking with the guy, so she probably thought he didn't see anything suspicious. Or maybe she just didn't care. Commenter 2. How much did he know? Just seeing your mom with some guy at a restaurant doesn't necessarily mean it's an affair, it could be a work lunch or something. Up. Sometimes, they were just talking. Other times, it escalated to hand-holding and kisses. Commenter 2. Him not being there for you during this mess is a separate issue. Do you think he feels like you're blaming him? Up. I don't think I've given him any reason to think that. During the phone call where he told me what he saw, I was pretty speechless. I just asked questions, how long it had been going on, what he saw, where it happened, and when he last saw it. I also asked why he hadn't told me. I told him we needed to talk in person and kept him updated on the situation through texts. When we went out for dinner, he was already acting weird. To be honest, I felt weird too, so I tried to talk about other topics before diving into a serious conversation. He stayed quiet, gave short answers, and seemed withdrawn, so I decided to drop it before it got worse. Now, we barely talk. Most of our communication is short texts, and phone calls are almost non-existent. He either hangs up quickly or doesn't pick up. We don't live together at the moment because he's staying with a friend near his work, and we had to adjust our budget to move in together later. Commenter 3. I'll play devil's advocate. Would you have believed him if he had told you? What would you have done in his place? Maybe he thought, not my circus, not my monkeys, and didn't want to meddle in his in-laws' relationship. Up. To be honest, I would have believed him. As I said in my post, I already knew my parents' marriage wasn't in a good place. I'm not going to pretend infidelity wasn't something I had considered, even though I didn't want to believe it. After a while, you notice things, and certain ideas don't seem so far-fetched anymore. So yes, I would have believed him. I would have preferred he mentioned these encounters, even starting with the less incriminating moments, before revealing the more serious ones. Update, 3 months later. I'm making this update so I can move on from everything. It's not a happy update, but here we go. After making my original post, I realized I might have been too accusatory and decided I should try being more open with my fiancé. I invited him to my place so we could have an honest talk. He didn't show up and instead called me. I was already struggling, so this didn't sit right with me, which led to us arguing over the phone. That argument ended with my now ex-fiancé revealing that he had been having an affair with a woman from work. The affair had been going on for almost a year. At first, he thought it was just a one-time thing, but it kept happening, and he realized he had feelings for her. Around that time, he moved to his friend's place so he could take her there whenever his friend wasn't home, which was often. This was why he didn't tell me about my mother's affair. He felt guilty and started becoming paranoid. After everything came to light, he panicked and tried to do damage control, including attempting to break things off with her. However, he didn't really want to end things with her, so he decided to end things with me instead. We last spoke in November when he finished canceling everything that had already been planned for the wedding. He expressed a desire to keep in contact in the future, but I refused. I've since moved closer to where my dad lives. His divorce still isn't finalized, but it's moving forward. My mother has been living with her boyfriend since the truth came out. I haven't spoken to her since, although she tried to contact me after I canceled the wedding. I'm still not in a good place emotionally, but I'm working on it. I truly hope no one ever has to go through something like this.